Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Wednesday, June 18th. I'm Elizabeth Arcalian. Who should decide the district boundaries for elected officials in Merced County? One state legislator is trying to shift the power from the supervisors to the voters.
So more people would have a say, and it would be, more people who are not necessarily elected into office already.
But can a change like this happen so easily? We will find out in just a moment, but first, these news headlines. Higher grocery prices and crops rotting in fields. That's one scenario the California Farm Bureau is painting if heavy immigration enforcement continues in the state's ag industry. Brian Little is a policy director with the Bureau. He says he was disappointed by President Trump's decision to resume raids on farms this week after a short-lived exemption.
Well, it's making it difficult for agricultural producers to be able to know what the lay of the land is. And then it makes it difficult for their employees to know what they need to do to take care of themselves and take care of their families.
He says those difficulties will be amplified in the coming months with harvest season just around the corner. Meanwhile, private prison companies are advertising their vacant facilities to federal immigration authorities as raids continue. The facilities would be used as detention centers. 2 facilities are being offered in Kern County, the California City Correctional Center and the McFarland Female Community Reentry Facility. Together, the facilities have a capacity of almost 3,000 beds. Federal immigration officials are looking to ramp up bed space as they continue to detain people in the country without legal status. A new report shows livestock in the Sierra Nevada foothills are causing harm to already endangered creatures. As KVPR's Rachel Livenall reports, this finding is in a new report by an environmental group.
The report was released by the Center for Biological Diversity and found that livestock who graze in the foothills are causing widespread damage to the habitats of several amphibians that are native to the Sierra. Among those are the yellow-legged frog and Yosemite toad. The U.S. Forest Service forbids cattle and sheep from inhabiting areas where the creatures are known to live, such as meadows, streams, or springs. Despite this, the report found evidence of eroded streams and soils and feces from the livestock. Overall, more than 90% of foothill habitats surveyed by the Center for Biological Diversity were damaged. These areas included the northern and eastern Sierra. For KVPR News, I'm Rachel Livenall.
A new bill could force firefighters to respond more quickly to wildfires. The bill was introduced in Congress by Merced Democratic Congressman Adam Gray and Republican Congresswoman Young Kim from Orange County. The legislation would require that fire crews respond to wildfire emergencies on federal lands in 30 minutes. Officials say establishing a standard response time would help aid fire suppression efforts as fires emerge. The bill would also force fire suppression equipment to be deployed within 3 hours of the initial call. The high-speed rail project is making progress in Tulare County. The rail authority announced this week it has completed its first overpass in the county. That overpass is located on Avenue 56 and is now open to traffic. Officials say construction on the structure was stalled after floods that occurred in 2023. The Tulare County overpass is one of about 50 others created in support of the high-speed rail development throughout the state. The project continues to move forward despite the Trump administration's plans to pull billions of dollars in federal funding.
Support for Central Valley Daily comes from the members of KVPR. Join at $8 or more per month and access ad-free NPR podcasts through NPR Plus. Give now at kvpr.org/donate.
And now to our main story. The process of mapping out districts for elected officials in cities and counties may not always be top of mind for voters, but it determines who they can vote for in elections. And those decisions have often been influenced by politics. Think of gerrymandering, where voting maps for congressional representatives are often carved out to include or exclude certain voters. That process is oftentimes designed to produce certain voting outcomes. At the local level, such voting map designs have also been a point of contention, so much that some cities and counties have faced lawsuits alleging elected officials don't represent everyone fairly in certain districts. Today, we're going to explore this issue because there's an effort to remap voting districts in Merced County, specifically for the Board of Supervisors elections. That's where one state legislator says more community input is needed when it comes to determining district boundaries. State Assemblymember Esmeralda Soria has introduced Assembly Bill 1441. If approved, that bill would create what's known as a Citizens Redistricting Commission. That body would then be responsible for determining district boundaries for supervisors. Currently, those supervisors determine the district boundaries themselves. About 90% of Merced County falls within Soria's district, and she says this bill came as an idea directly from her constituents. But what do the supervisors think? Brianna Vaccari is an accountability and watchdog reporter for the Merced Focus, which is a news partner of KVPR and the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. Brianna joined me for a conversation about this topic and discussed with me where things stand now in this effort.
Right now, under California law, the Merced County Board of Supervisors basically gets to choose their own maps for their supervisor districts. This bill proposes putting that power under an independent commission of constituents in Merced County.
Okay, so they would get to decide as a group what the districts would be moving forward.
Yes, so the commission would get to vote on the maps that would determine the different districts.
Okay, is this like a major overhaul then?
It does change the process, and under this proposal, the commission would be bigger than the current Board of Supervisors. So the bill proposes an 11-member commission, and right now the Board of Supervisors is 5 people. So more people would have a say, and it would be, more people who are not necessarily elected into office already.
Got it. So currently the elected supervisors get to decide the districts that they represent.
Yes.
Okay, now Assemblymember Soria says this bill that she's introduced is backed by community groups. Do we know who's endorsing this?
Yes. So the organization Communities for a New California is one of the co-sponsors to the bill. Additionally, different community groups do support it, including the Merced County League of Women Voters, Jacara Movement, Cal Pride. Some of these groups that push for more democratic engagement, but also try to uplift, the voices of underserved communities.
Okay, now what about the opposition? Has anyone come out and spoken against the bill?
So the Merced County Board of Supervisors does oppose the bill, along with the Rural Counties Representatives of California, which is a group of elected representatives in some of the state's smaller, more rural counties.
Okay, something that stood out to me about your reporting is that Assemblymember Soria is a state representative, and yet she's very invested in what's happening at the county level in Merced. Did she convey why she's pushing so hard for this?
So she said that this bill really did come from the community and did come from conversations with the community. After the 2020 census, the city of Merced and the Merced City Council had an advisory commission, and community groups were really involved in that. And so now they want that at the county level.
So ultimately, is this sort of like a fight over local control?
Yes. So the Board of Supervisors, in their argument against it, say that it takes away local control because, they were elected to represent this area and these constituents. On the other hand, community groups want more involvement, and they want to be more involved in the process. And, Soria also made the point that she also was elected to represent these constituents.
Okay, now I've seen redistricting issues play out in other valley cities and communities, like many of us have. There's even been threats of lawsuits at certain points. Ultimately, what keeps coming out from these fights is this push to make these districts more equitable in terms of representation, as some see it. Is the legality of what's currently occurring in Merced County a concern, or is this more about representation?
This is more about representation. So during the last redistricting process, Merced County did meet all of its legal obligations. You know, they fulfilled the Voter Rights Act. And like you said, a lot of counties were sued over their process. That did not happen in Merced County.
And what are residents or the voters having to say about this? Do we know if they care about this issue, or is this sort of more of an inside baseball problem for elected officials?
So at this point, it is more of a conversation among elected officials. But what I can say is that during the Merced City Council process and the redistricting process with the city, there was a lot of community engagement. And that's something that was pointed out by Susan Walsh, the president of the Merced County League of Women Voters. She said that, you know, she doesn't think there will be any shortage of involvement on something like this. And she thinks that it will get more people engaged in the democratic process, which the League of Women Voters sees as a good thing.
And in terms of timeline, where does the bill stand now? And if it's ultimately passed, when would residents potentially see a change?
So the bill has made it through the Assembly. It's still working its way through the Legislature. It's currently in the Senate. And if it passes the Senate, it will go to the governor's desk, and he ultimately will decide whether or not to sign it into law. And this isn't really going to take effect until after the next census in 2030. So this is definitely a forward-looking bill.
Brianna Vaccari with our news partner, the Merced Focus and the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. Thanks so much for this reporting.
Thanks, Liz.
And that's today's show. Just a quick note, we will be off tomorrow for the Juneteenth holiday, but we will be back on Friday. Today's episode was produced by Crescencio Rodriguez Delgado, Jonathan Linden, and KVPR, with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
Planet Money helps you understand the economy. We find the people at the center of the story.
Garbage in New York, that was like a controlled substance.
We show you how money influences everything.
Tell me what you like by telling me how you spend your money.
And we dig until we get answers.
I had a bad feeling you were going to bring that up.
Planet Money finds out. All you have to do is listen. The Planet Money Podcast from NPR.